Hello, everyone. I'm Sean.
This is Hoon.
We are the Courageous Frights back once again, and this is a new year going into 2024. So we thought we would do a year-end roundup of everything we saw in 2023, and we made our top 10 lists for the year.
Yes, which I think we did that last year.
Yes, we did. But... Yeah, so last year, just to recap, our top film of the year, I think, was Violent Night.
Yeah, Violent Night, which was the last movie that year.
Yeah, so it worked out. Oh, well, actually, this year is kind of the same, in a way.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true.
They knock it out of the park in the last month, I guess.
Yes.
All right, so I guess we'll start with you for number 10. We're probably going to do, like, maybe a couple minute talk about the movie for like a minute or two.
Yeah.
And then move on. If we have the same movie in a different order, then we'll list our number that it was in and then give us our thoughts about it as well. So we'll start with your number 10.
Yeah, because I think a lot of these, I know a lot of mine, I'm pretty sure we've done a review on every single one of these movies except one of them.
Okay.
But...
And I don't actually know what's on your list, and you don't know what's on mine. So.
Yeah, so my number 10 is Knock at the Cabin.
All right.
So that came out earlier this year. I think that one was... The release date was in January.
Yeah.
Or February 3rd.
February, yeah.
I guess January in Rose Hall, wherever that is.
It's like some film.
Yeah. But February 3rd was when it actually came out. So it's like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Mm-hmm. Based on the book. I have the note here.
Which you read.
Yes, I have read. And this is actually the reason why this is on my number 10. So the book's called Cabin at the End of the World. Like I said, the reason why I like this movie is because I read the book before watching this movie, so I knew kind of what was going to happen. Mm. But there was a major differences between the book and the movie, which I know we talked about in our review already.
Yeah.
But the reason why I have this under number 10 is just because of that particular reason. It's because I kind of like the comparisons of like the book and the movie and see what the differences are. And I kind of enjoyed that actually. And that's actually the reason why it's number 10, to be honest. Mm. Because the movie was all right. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But any other year probably would have been probably not my top 10. But since I actually had another connection outside of watching this movie, I kind of put it as my number 10 for that reason.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 10 is The Deep Dark, which is a French film. Mm-hmm. I went to a film festival this year in Columbus, Ohio, and they showed a bunch of movies. Some of them were good, some of them were not.
Yeah.
And I was pretty sick when I was there, so I didn't get to stick around for all of them. But two of the films I saw stuck with me, and so they're both on this list. So The Deep Dark is a French film, came out in France in November, so I actually saw it a month before France did. And it's basically this story about people going down into a mine in like 1950s France, and they just unearth something down in the depths, and it's like very Lovecraftian horror. It's basically like an elder god thing that they wake up, and but it does have a bit of a social commentary thing, because I guess it's talking about in the 1950s the French would use miners from North Africa for the most part to do all the dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
So that's who like the main character is. He was like from Algeria or Morocco or something, and then they sent him to work in a mine in northern France. And it's very Stephen King, it's very Lovecraft, it's pretty well put together. I'm not typically a fan of French horror, especially like the new extreme movement in France.
Yeah,
like
especially French horror nowadays.
Martyrs and like those type of things.
And coming of age cannibalism.
Yes.
That's always a big one.
Coming of age cannibalism. This one... Now, while those films are good and they do have their fans, I'm personally not one of them. But this one was more straightforward, just kind of cosmic horror, if you will.
So it's more like a Lovecraftian type of thing.
Yeah, so I did enjoy this one. Mm-hmm. So number 9.
Okay, so my number 9 was a 2022 film.
Here we go.
Which I did this last year, because I forgot which number it was, but it was like pretty high up last year for One Cut of the Dead, which didn't come out like 4 years ago.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with 2022.
Yeah. At least Prey, it did come out on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Which that's where I actually watched it on Blu-ray this year.
That's true.
So, but it was a 2022 film. I think it actually came out on August 5th, 2022.
Yes, that's when I saw it.
Which is it's a Predator movie, actually.
Yes.
So I know like I said, we did a review on this. It's about like Comanche tribe that gets like visited by the predator, I guess you could say.
Yes, and drunk French trappers.
Yeah, and drunk French trappers. But it's like a normal predator movie where you're basically he's trying to like catch his prey and everything else.
Mhm.
But I kind of liked it because it actually was because of actually the period it was actually in.
Yes.
Because you have a Comanche tribe fighting the predator using basically their technology and stuff like that, which I guess she had to use her own technology, like the predator's technology, but uses a tactics that you would normally find in Comanche to beat the predator, which I was kind of like, it's almost kind of like the first movie almost. It had a very like similar feeling to the first movie.
Yeah, it's pretty close to the first
Yeah.
one. Like in the story beats and stuff.
Yeah, story beats. And I think we watched it in Comanche. This is like probably one of the first movies that actually was in Comanche, actually.
Yeah, there's not much. There's only like 100 speakers of Comanche.
Yeah, so
yeah, it's that was I think my number 2 film last year. Or
yeah,
something. It was.
I know.
It was
I remember yours was had pretty high.
Yeah, it was way up there.
And it like it's a pretty good movie. Like if you have not seen it, it is actually really good. If you like Predator, it's definitely going like Predator series in general.
Mm-hmm.
This actually does go back to like the original ones, not like the new ones.
The Predator.
The Predator, where you're trying to get like their autism or whatever. This is actually like an actual movie.
An actual movie.
Yeah, an actual movie.
As Harry Styles.
Yeah, Harry Styles says this is a movie.
A movie. All right, so my number 9 is a Hulu film, which I guess that's a good follow up from yours.
Yeah,
because Prey is also a Hulu. Film. This one is No One Will Save You. So this is directed by Brian Duffield, and it's like a home invasion story, basically. But the twist is the invaders are aliens.
Oh, this is that one where there's no dialogue in it, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a very quirky film. It has almost no dialogue at all. The entire film. It's essentially a silent movie.
Yeah.
And the invaders are like Greys, extraterrestrials. Like Giorgio was right.
Yeah, Giorgio was right.
He tried to warn us.
Giorgio Grey.
He tried to warn us. But I thought it was really well put together. I liked the fact that there was no dialogue, but you could still understand the story and feel for the protagonists and stuff. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I think I remember when that came out. That a lot of people did like it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's one of those movies a lot of people either like or hate.
Oh, okay. One of those type of things.
I liked it. So
okay.
That's my number 9. So let's go to number 8.
Number 8. This is a Shudder original, I believe. Or at least distributed by Shudder. So this is, it came out October 6, 2023. It's called VHS 85, which is off an anthology series, VHS.
Yes.
So this is like the newest one. So it's like the 6th movie in the series or something like that. So the way this movie is designed is like, you have like a frame narrative, so it's like one overarching story that kind of connects all the other stories together. Or maybe not really connects it together, but they're like, it's in the between, like intermissions between the two,
right.
Like the short stories in between. So this one I believe had, let me see how many it had. 5 different like short stories. Some were made like by big name directors actually. One of them is called Dreamkill, which is probably the best one out of all of them.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah. Is directed by Scott Derrickson, which I think he made what's
Sinister.
that? Sinister was what he made.
Yeah.
So that was about like a kid could like dream, and he like basically dreams about like a murder on his like videotape or something, and then he sends it out to the police, and then it goes on from there. It's like a spoiler, which we went through in our
Yeah, we did reviews of these.
Yeah, we did reviews of these, but
so yeah, VHS, we do have reviews for the whole series.
Yeah, the whole series. Which the reason why I kind of like this one this year is I actually kind of like these like found footage movies and stuff like that because they obviously don't have a very big budget when they do these, and they have like a set amount of budget, which Dreamkill definitely had the most budget out of all of this.
Yeah,
but I kind of like seeing the short story format in a movie, just to see how like what people's directions of different films, because some of these short stories actually made other movies while they're doing this, so they had ideas of what they're going to actually make in the future.
Right. A lot of times, especially in horror, a lot of times the horror movies before the feature length horror film comes out, a lot of times they'll find a director from a short film they made and then have them direct a feature length film version of their short.
Yeah.
So, and which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Sometimes you can tell a story in 5 minutes and you don't need
Yeah.
another hour and a half.
An hour and a half to do it.
Right, because that was another thing when I went to that film festival. There's a lot of shorts.
Yeah. Which I'm that's something I think we probably are both probably kind of interested in seeing.
Yeah.
Which I said that's the reason why I like this one, and that's why it's number I don't know what number is 8.
Yeah.
Because of that reason alone. But I think Dreamkill is one that I think because they want to make was it Sinister with Insidious.
Yeah, supposedly.
That's kind of what they want to do. At least they've been talking about it for years. And Scott Derrickson made Sinister. Insidious is about like astral projection, which is about dreaming. I don't know if this is what it's supposed to be, or if it's supposed to be something else in the future they're gonna do. But I can see that being kind of like the backbone of what they want to do.
Yeah,
in
it
the
could
future.
be. It felt to me like Scott Derrickson was playing with ideas that possibly either revisiting Sinister, which he has
Yeah.
said he wants to do, or something similar.
Which I heard because the second one I don't think people liked as much.
Yeah, people don't like the second one.
Yeah, and I think that might be like a thing that they can go in the future, like revisit it or fix some of the issues or whatever.
Right.
But
Yeah, that's what I thought.
and like I said, that's a good. These type of movies are good to kind of like see just like ideas of what people want to do, or maybe a thinking of directions they want to do.
Mm.
And with like I said, with the limited budgets they have, and like even the limited screen times they have, see what they can actually make up, I guess.
Right.
But that's the reason why I liked it at number 8
Number
for
8.
this year.
Okay, so my number 8 is another Hulu movie, I think, Cobweb. So Cobweb is a horror movie directed by Samuel Bowden, or Bowden, I don't know how you say his name. So it's about this kid and his 2 parents that are like overly controlling parents. Anyway, he starts hearing like this scratching in the walls, and there's like someone or something living in the wall that starts talking to him. And you start to find out that as time goes on, the family kind of unravels, and his parents are like kind of insane.
Oh,
And they've kept this like dark secret that's in the wall. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it's pretty wild. So, like, if you remember, did we watch Malignant together?
no, I didn't. Never seen that movie. I don't
Okay,
think.
so I couldn't remember if I watched it with you or not. There was a movie from like 2 years ago that James Wan made, actually, and it had this insane twist to it. It was just ridiculous. And then it just ran with it. And that's almost what this is like. There's like this crazy twist that you don't really expect, and then the movie just goes with it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just wild, ridiculous. There's no possible way it could work. But it just like leans into its own crazy storyline.
Yeah.
So I just liked how over the top it was once the reveal happens, and how the movie just leans right into it and never like questions it.
Yeah.
And the dad is played by Anthony Starr or whatever, who's the guy who plays Homelander and The Boys.
Oh, okay.
He's like a psycho.
Okay.
So that adds to it too, I think. And Busey is in it. I think Gary Busey's
Oh, the PC.
youngest son or something is in there.
Oh, there we go. I mean,
Who
he's-
you could recognize immediately from the teeth.
oh, so he has like the same look.
They all have the same look.
Great.
And they're always cast as villains, so that's good.
There we go.
So anyway, that was my number 8. So what is your 7?
Mine 7 is actually another period piece, I guess. The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Yeah, this was pretty good.
Yeah, which is a pretty good movie. This is another horror movie, which I guess this is coming from the Dracula novel,
Yes.
where there's like a part where about the Demeter,
Yeah,
and it goes from like like Transylvania or something, or wherever they're in harbor, and they're going to England, and then when they get to the England, basically it's like a ghost ship,
Yeah.
like everyone's like dead and stuff like that. And this is like that part of that book, so it's like 3 pages long, but
It's very short, and it's been covered before in movies, but for like a minute, maybe.
yeah, this one actually is basically showing that part of that voyage, I guess you can say.
Mhm.
But the reason why I like this movie is, again, it's being a period piece. And I kind of liked it because it shows Dracula is not really like the suave Dracula.
No, he's just a monster.
Yeah, this is almost like the Nosferatu Dracula.
Mhm.
Because he kind of has to feed on like he's basically feeding on like people in the actual coffins because because the people of Transylvania know
Yeah.
that's Dracula. So basically, he's weak when he first starts, but since he's like drinking blood throughout the voyage, he gets stronger, and by the end, he's just like full-fledged Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a pretty good movie. Like if you like the Dracula type of thing, or if you like the Nosferatu type of Dracula, this is definitely one you should check out because this is actually really good.
Yeah, we both like this one.
Yeah, I think I said we did a review on this one too. But
yeah, it didn't do well, and
Yeah.
I have heard people don't like it, but I liked it. It's
Yeah.
almost like Alien on 19th century.
yeah, it had that alien feel because he's like hiding in the like the ceilings and stuff.
He's just like this monster picking people off.
Yeah, eating like their livestock, which I think that is the first part where he like eats the livestock, and people are like,
Right.
"Why is all our stuff dead? Like,
Yeah.
who killed all these things?"
And then he has this one woman that he brought on board as a snack.
yeah, it's like his snack, or it's like he's rationing her out until they get closer to the actual like England,
Yeah.
so they can be like, "Oh, now I can eat everyone and get full strength."
Yeah.
Which the only weird thing is at the end he's kind of turned into suave Dracula, but he still has like that bat-like face and stuff.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Because the one guy, the main character, I don't remember the main character's name, but
I don't know, the doctor.
yeah, the doctor. He's like his whole goal. He's almost like comes into like a Constantine or like a Van Helsing or something at the end.
Yeah, I thought they were going to say that was Van Helsing, but honestly, it doesn't make sense if he was.
Yeah, because he's like, I need to go find where this Dracula's look like, because he's like the only one that knows.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully they make the last Voyage of the Demeter 2 or whatever the second one would be, but I don't think it's going to because it didn't do well.
Nah, I doubt they're going to revisit
Yeah.
that.
But it is like that's why those are the reasons why I liked it for number 7. But it has a good movie if you ever get a chance to check it out.
Yeah, I think it pairs all right with the Wolfman remake because that was also from the 1890s. So it's like from the same time period.
Okay.
Okay, so my number 7 was another film I saw at that film festival, which hasn't come out yet. So this is actually a 2024 film.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Trunk, and it's directed by Mark Schieser. And this is a German film.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thriller, I guess. So the whole film takes place, almost the entire film is inside the trunk of a car. And
nice.
about this woman who just gets kidnapped. And she's in the trunk of the car, and she's like trying to frantically talk to the operator at I think 119 or something is the emergency number in Europe. So the whole thing's basically just this thriller about this one person that it focuses on, who's like trying to escape, but she can't get away from the guy, the kidnapper. And it's told entirely from her point of view. I think she's a nurse or something, so she has medical background.
Oh, there you
She's
go.
pretty badly hurt, so she has to like put herself together. I think at one point she uses her shoelaces to like stitch herself up or something. It's like pretty wild, but it's really well put together. It's tells a story from a very like claustrophobic style of storytelling.
Yeah.
And the way they had to have made the movie, they must have made like a mock-up frame of a car or something, because the camera passes back and forth through the car at one point, like pans through like the seats into the interior of the car, and then goes back to the trunk again.
Oh, nice.
That's some really cool camera work. So I would recommend that.
Who was
movie.
the director on that one?
It's like Mark Schieser or something. He's a German director.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's a German film. It's in German entirely.
I
But
kind of wonder if
it's
maybe
not
it's
too
kind of like, because that sounds similar to that one VHS one where they're like in the coffin or whatever.
bad. Oh, yeah.
Where it's with the little girl. That's the whole point. That whole
Yeah.
segment is we're in the coffin. It's very
It's-
claustrophobic.
Yeah, it's that like claustrophobic storytelling where
Yeah.
some people get away with making a movie in a room, but
Yeah.
this is not even that.
Yeah, it's like a trunk of a car.
barely any space at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty well done. It was one of my favorite films. It was my favorite film at that festival. So
Okay.
just wanted to talk about that. I think it's coming to Amazon in 2024.
Oh, so it's like an Amazon type of movie.
Yeah, so I would check that out. So number 6.
6. My number 6 is The Evil Dead Rise.
That's mine too.
Oh, is there 6? Is that Evil Dead Rise? Okay. I guess we can both talk
So
about
we'll
this
both
one.
talk about that one.
Okay, so this is a movie directed by Lee Cronin.
Yes.
And it came out in April 21st, 2023, which is a sequel, I guess. I guess it's not. It's really considered a sequel, or maybe I guess
It's
it is
technically.
Kind of,
I mean, it's in the same continuity as the Evil Dead films.
The Evil Dead, not the remakes, is it? Like the remake Evil Dead?
Though the continuity is very loose
Oh, okay.
in these films, so it's hard to tell. Like, I guess it's possible that all the Evil Dead films are canon with each other, because I think there's multiple books.
Yeah.
But this one, there is a short voice cameo by Bruce Campbell.
Because he's like talking like almost like a record or something.
Yeah, it's like back in the 20s, and
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be playing with like time traveling Ash.
Yeah, time traveling Ash. But yeah, this one definitely was a good Evil Dead movie.
Yeah, I liked it better than the remake.
Yeah, 'cause
2014, 13, whatever that was.
Because it kind of follows like a family in an actual like apartment building, which that's actually different from a lot of the Evil Dead movies. Because all Evil Dead movies are like either in like a cabin, or I guess the third one is in like an actual like countryside, and like a castle. But this one like falls in an apartment complex, which that is one complaint I kind of wish they would have went more with. But
right, yeah, they could have had a lot more carnage.
yeah, they could have just, because you're in like an apartment complex. They kind of was like the one floor of the apartment complex.
Yeah, so there really wasn't that many more people.
Yeah,
It's gives an illusion of more carnage than there is.
yeah. But it follows a family, and the mother kind of gets I guess the one kid's going to the basement, which is like in a almost like a vault or something.
Yeah, there was like a bank or something under the building that had a vault.
That had the Necronomicon in it.
Yeah, for some reason.
And then the kid just brings it up for some weird reason. And it's like, this is like the creepiest thing in existence, but he brings it up, and then he starts like, he plays the records that are with it, and it kind of tells you like, it does the little saying that it does to get the deadites and stuff to show up.
Yeah.
So it possesses a mother, and it kind of goes from there.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a pretty gory movie actually.
Yeah, it does have some pretty cool kills. There definitely was practical effects involved.
Yeah.
There's CG enhancing it for sure, but there was some practical stuff. The final monster is pretty wild.
Yeah, it's kind of like an amalgamation of all like the deadites that this creature killed.
Yeah, pretty much. They just like attach themselves into
it's like a weird. It feels like a very Silent Hill monster. Like everything's like attached together.
Yeah,
and it has like all these arms and like legs, and they're like talking to the person.
Yeah, it was pretty decent.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent movie.
And we're both pretty big fans of Evil Dead. I think we watched all the movies.
Yeah, we watched them all this year, actually.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we've done this review on it yet, but
yeah, we were going to.
Yeah.
We were going to do a review of it and the spin-offs or like rip-offs or whatever of Evil Dead, but we never got around to doing that. So maybe 2024.
Yeah, 2024 we might be able to get to that.
All right. So then number 5, sticking with I guess we'll do your number 5.
Yeah, okay. My number 5 is, I know we didn't do a review on this one. We are going to eventually do it, but it's Hell House LLC Origins.
Yes.
Which is also from a series called Hell House.
It's the Carmichael
Manor. Yeah, the Carmichael Manor.
Yeah.
This is, I think, the 4th movie in this series.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is like it's a Shudder movie again. Or I don't know if are these considered Shudder movies? Or are they like distributed by Shudder, or are they owned by someone? I don't even know.
I'm not sure. I think Shudder's involved in the production.
Yeah. Well, this is directed by Stephen Cognetti, and it came out on October 30th, 2023 on Shudder. So the Hell House series in general is about like the first movie is a lot kind of different than the other ones, and then this one's different than the 2 and 3. This one's
the most different.
Yeah, this one's the most different than 2 and 3. But the first movie is about a group of people that must have owned like a hell house, like a horror haunted house thing.
Yeah.
So they go buy this hotel, and they basically transform it into a haunted house attraction.
Yeah.
But they find out that the haunted house attraction has like almost like a Satanistic rituals and stuff that has been done there.
Yeah, the guy who owned the hotel was like a Satanist.
Yeah, Satanist or something. And so he killed himself in there, but it basically all the ghosts and stuff come out and like mess with them or kill them at the end.
Yeah.
But that kind of changes in the third movie. Which I'm not going to go through the whole thing.
Yeah, 1 through 3, yeah, they're a different thing. But
yeah. The first one, like out of the series, I would say the first one is the second best. This is definitely the best one out of all of them.
I agree with that. I
But-
like this one a lot.
But the fourth one is basically, it's supposed to be considered the origin, but it's the origin of the third movie.
Yeah,
It's really weird.
it barely has a connection to the first film.
Yeah,
at
because
all.
what directly happens in the third movie, it goes into the fourth one. But it follows almost like a paranormal investigator. And like there's this house is the Carmichael Manor, where I guess the one kid disappears and the whole family's like dead. So they're basically going to investigate it. Like people go to the house and like get lost or whatever. And they're basically trying to investigate it to see if they can find out what happened to these people. So the reason why I kind of like this movie is, again, it's at least it feels like it's low budget. I don't know if they had a very big budget on this movie or
I'm
not.
sure they didn't.
Yeah, because there's only like 5 people in this whole movie.
Yeah.
Like some of the scares are actually pretty good. Because there's one where there's like a lady that's like talking on. She must be working a job or something as like a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
And like it keeps showing pictures of her like sitting at the computer.
Oh yeah.
Or it shows pictures of, like the house or something, and then at the end, she goes through it, and it shows like basically the camera going up the stairs to where she's sitting at. It's a pretty effective scare for like a movie like this.
Yeah.
Or like the clown guy that's in there. Like there's another scene where it's like a found footage movie. So it's basically you have the guy with the camera, and you're like showing what's happening. Like he looks down this hallway, and like you can see like this thing walking back and forth in like this cellar or like this storage unit. It's like a pretty decent scare for this movie.
Yeah.
But I guess, like I said, the reason why I kind of like it is because it's kind of a low budget movie, and they did a pretty decent job with the scares for a low budget movie. So that's the reason why. That's the reason why I do like it. That's actually the reason why it's number 5. But like, I don't want to get too much into spoilers and stuff like that. But
yeah,
but that is actually the reason why I do like it. It's number 5. It's pretty decent for a horror movie with a found footage with low budget.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we've been watching a lot of those.
yeah, quite a bit of these lately. So
all right, so my number 5 is When Evil Lurks, which is an Argentine film.
Mm-hmm.
So this is supposedly a demonic possession film, but it's demonic possession in a very different way. The Spanish language horror films tend to take different takes on things.
Mm-hmm.
So a Spanish movie I really like is Wreck, and that had zombies in it, but they were actually demons, but it was basically a zombie movie.
yeah,
So their way of describing demonic possession was almost like a zombie virus. This film does something very similar, where it's like dealing with demonic possession in a rural town in Argentina, but it spreads almost like an airborne virus.
oh, there you go.
So it's similar in that sense. It's almost like The Crazies, which was a Romero film
Okay,
that was directed near where we live.
yeah,
But yeah, it felt like that with a bit of this demonic angle, but the demons in this world have like their own rules. And one of the rules is that like you can't be near electricity because for some reason the demons can use it to travel.
oh, there you go.
You can't be near animals because the animals are easy to possess, and then they can go from the animal to another person. And you can't like kill them, so don't kill the possessed, because if you kill the possessed, it immediately transfers to the nearest soul, which is usually you.
Oh,
You're the one
okay.
that killed it because you're the one standing near it. So like that's the fastest way to get possessed by something.
Yeah,
So it's very gory. It has a lot of shocking deaths.
oh,
Like we got kids, animals, old people. Nobody's safe.
oh, there you go.
It's just it has a lot of shock factor, but it's not so much jump scares. It's just like you can't believe they went there.
Oh,
kinda
so
thing.
like okay, so like a
So there's a moment.
disturbing moments.
Yes, there's a moment in there that like rivals Hereditary, which if people saw Hereditary, you'll know the scene. Everybody always talks about the moment in Hereditary. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but there's a scene in there that's particularly horrendous by most movie standards. And this film like rivals that on at least one occasion, possibly 2 or 3. So it's definitely up there for me. So that's my number 5. You can watch it on Shudder. Actually, I think it was a Shudder film.
Oh, it was a Shudder movie. Okay.
Yeah. So number 4.
So number 4 is a fourth movie in the franchise, I guess. It's John Wick Chapter 4 for me.
All right, this is my number 2.
Is that your number 2? Okay.
we'll talk about it here.
So this is a Chad Stahelski movie.
Yes, it's a Helsky.
Yeah, it came out in March 24th, 2023. So this is like a movie based off the John Wick franchise, which is a lot of action.
Yes.
Like, I don't even really consider it violent action, but just action in general.
Well, it's violent.
Maybe
but
it
it's
is
not
violent.
gory.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's kind of like gunfighting and stuff like that.
Yeah, gun fu.
Yeah, gung fu. But it follows John Wick, and then it goes through basically his like his life at this point. I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It is. I guess I think we went to do a big review of this one already.
We did do a review for this one. Yeah. So he's been trying to get out.
Yeah.
Since he got back in, and they killed his dog several years ago.
Yeah, that was like the first movie.
Yeah, or like a year ago. The whole franchise goes in like a year.
Yeah.
This is like 8 months after Chapter 3, where he got knocked off a building.
Yeah.
So here he's recovered, and he's trying to take on a new challenger, who is the Marquis.
Which is like part of the High Table, I believe.
Yeah, he's the High Table member.
And that was played by Bill
Skarsgård.
Skarsgård, which he plays a really good job in that one, actually.
Yeah, he's pretty good in that. So John basically just takes on everybody. This is the movie he's been talking about killing them all, and this is the movie he does.
Yeah, this is the movie he does it in.
And Donnie Yen's in it as a supporting role.
And even does which I know this has happened already in the movies, but he took a scene from Cowboy Bebop, was at the very end.
Yeah.
Literally, they took that, not really taking the scene, but it's very similar.
Yeah, very similar. Donnie Yen basically is Zatoichi.
Yeah.
It's like the blind swordsman. Hiriki Sanada has kind of a short role in there, as supporting role.
As like the Continental concierge or like the main guy.
Yeah, he's like the guy he's essentially the Winston character.
Yeah, of like the Osaka branch.
Yeah. Has a lot of great action.
Yeah.
Some nunchuck fight in there. There's more stuff with the dogs.
Which, I guess, speaking of the action, I know that's actually one of the things that, I guess the biggest complaint about this movie was some of the action was a little bit too much.
I guess, yeah, some people think it's unbelievable or whatever, but it's, I don't know, it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a John Wick movie, what do you expect?
Yeah. The only time it gets really ridiculous is when he gets, like, knocked out an 8-story window and like, hits a truck or whatever, but other than that...
But I think that's actually been proven that you can actually do that. Like, you can do it and survive. It's not like it's unbelievable, but...
It's unlikely, but it's not necessarily impossible.
Yeah.
And I think he survived crazier stuff before.
Yeah.
But I like the stuff with the dogs. The martial arts is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the gunfighting, but the hand-to-hand combat gets progressively better with each movie.
Yeah, I know the cinematography in this is really good.
They're doing a lot more judo and aikido in here, which I have a black belt in aikido, and so like I recognize a lot of the movements that are going on, and I've also kind of dabbled with judo and karate and all these other things. So all the forms that John Wick is using, I've trained some degree, so I'm kind of familiar with what he's doing. So, and the stunt team's really done a fantastic job with these movies.
Yeah, and like I said, the cinematography is really good in this.
Yeah,
like I think he's kind of like there's a scene where I think it goes to the very top and it kind of shows like an up version view of the thing in the bottom.
Oh yeah, there's a crazy scene where the camera like pans up onto the ceiling.
Yeah,
and it's almost like a top-down view from a video game.
Yeah, it's really you could definitely tell Chad is like changing some of he wants to do something different with the camera angles.
Yeah,
which actually does work out, and especially like a John Wick movie because John Wick actually kind of is like a noir type of thing.
Yeah, it's like neo-noir.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely tried more artistic stuff with this one.
Yeah.
It's a long movie. It's like 3 hours.
Which I think that's kind of what he was always talking about. Is like he wants to like kind of go forward instead of like being the same thing over and over again. At least do something different.
Yeah, because they were talking about, despite, I guess, to avoid spoilers, the ending seems definitive.
Yeah.
For the franchise, but apparently it's not because I guess there is a John Wick 5 greenlit, sort of.
Yeah.
It's more like it's greenlit by Lionsgate, but will be done if Keanu and Chad can come up with like a coherent story.
Yeah.
And Chad Stahelski, they're both kind of parting ways for now to do other projects. Chad is doing a Highlander reboot with Henry Cavill, which
And
is
also
still happening.
Ghost of Tsushima. I
Ghost
guess
of
he's supposed to be done.
Tsushima. He's directing. I feel like the Highlander thing might be his next thing
Yeah, probably.
because he recently was talking about that more. We thought that was like in developmental hell or just not happening,
Yeah.
but apparently it is. And then they'll possibly do John Wick Chapter 5. But either way, 2024, we're getting The Ballerina, which is the first film spin-off of John Wick. And this year, we got The Continental, which I saw the first episode, and then I never got around to watching the other two. It is different. I don't know if I liked it or not. Obviously, I didn't like it a lot because I didn't go back to it. But maybe the second and third episode was better. I don't
That's
know.
the only bad thing is like hopefully Lionsgate isn't like trying to milk this franchise.
Well, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and it's like because they have a lot of stuff.
It almost sounded like they greenlit it, and then they're sitting there poking Chad with a stick, saying "Do something,"
Yeah.
and he's like, "I'm kind of busy, guys.
like I got other stuff to do."
Like, yeah, I said yes, I'll do it, but stop bothering me."
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the vibe I was getting from it. So hopefully it all lines up, but we'll have to see.
Yes.
So was that your number 4?
That was number 4 for me.
All right, so my number 4, kind of in a similar vein to John Wick, is a Finnish film called Sisu. So this is directed by Jalmari Heilander, and it follows this character in 1944, and he's sort of a silent protagonist. He has a dog and rides his horse around. He's like looking for gold up in the Lapland region of northern Finland. So this is set during the Lapland War, which if people don't realize, in World War II, Finland fought the Soviet Union, and they were supported by the Germans. But after fighting the Soviets for like 4 or 5 years, the Soviet Union finally decided that they would come to an agreement where if Finland forced the Germans to disarm, then the Soviet Union would stop attacking Finland, basically. So it was kind of like an armistice between the two if you get rid of all the Germans that were in your country. So Finland agreed to this, and it led to the Lapland War, which was a war between Finland and Germany, which was the very end of World War II. And so they ended up having to fight the people that were supplying them the whole time prior to the war. So for the most part, Finland fought the Soviets, but at the very end, they had this very short war with Germany. And that's what's taking place here. So it was a means for the Finnish to have a bad guy that everybody could agree was bad,
Yeah.
which is the Nazis. And it follows kind of a John Wick formula. The director basically said that it was a combination of First Blood, which is the first Rambo film, and the story of Simo Häyhä, who was a real-life Finnish sniper who had something like 400 confirmed kills or something in the war, like possibly the most kills any one man has ever had.
Yeah, that's a lot.
A war. So he's based on that. And the idea is he's kind of this silent protagonist that you just don't mess with.
Yeah.
Sort of a John Wick, basically. And the word sisu is a word that you commonly hear Finnish people will say cannot be translated to English. It's sort of this idea of like indomitable spirits. They translate it to like the immortal or something in this.
Yeah.
Apparently the Russians called this guy Koshai, which is a Russian term for like a vampire character in the folklore. It's like
There you go.
I think he's Koshai the Deathless or something. He's supposed to be this immortal guy. It's very obvious that they're kind of aping on the Baba Yaga thing from John Wick. However, this being a Finnish film, they got it a little bit more accurate because Baba Yaga is an old woman who eats children, which doesn't really equate to Keanu Reeves.
Yes, John Wick.
Koshai probably would have been the better analogy to go with. So since that was open, these guys took it. So the character pretty much, it basically follows a similar formula we've seen a bunch of times where like a guy doesn't want to be bothered, gets repeatedly bothered by a bunch of jerks, and then he just goes out of his, ends up killing them all.
Yes.
In brutal fashion. Some of the kills in here are pretty graphic. He like throws a mine at a dude and blows a guy up and like stuff like that. Sticks a knife like all the way through a guy's skull and stuff. Like it's pretty wild. So I would recommend it. It's definitely John Wick style action in a World War II setting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty good. And as a whole, I'm a pretty big fan of like Finnish and Scandinavian films and that sort of thing. So that's my number 4.
Okay.
So number 3.
Number 3. My number 3 is, I guess, the third movie in the franchise. Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
This is where we line up again because that's also my number 3.
Oh, your number 3? Okay. So, this is a Guardian Galaxy movie. I don't even know if we have to explain what... Because it's very similar to a lot of the Guardian Galaxy movies.
This is the Rocket Raccoon origin story.
Yeah, it's the Rocket Raccoon origin story. It talks about some guy named the... what was his name? Like the main bad guy.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's like the evolutionary or something.
So, yeah, I think that is what he's called.
So basically he's doing like animal testing and stuff like that to try to make like the perfect beings or something like that.
Right.
And that's where Rocket Raccoon shows up. Like that's one of his
He like
creations.
accidentally created the perfect being.
Yeah.
And then he's been for years been trying to replicate it, but he never could.
Yeah, he can never do it, and he's been doing it this whole time because I guess the problem is every time they make someone they can't think for themselves or something like that.
Yeah, or
And
they
he always
become
destroys-
violent.
Yeah, they become violent, and he can't destroy. Like he destroys all the stuff that he always does with.
He was almost creating rage zombies.
Yeah, pretty much. That's literally what he was doing. But then he lives on a planet called Earth 2, I believe,
Yeah.
and that's like basically looks like Earth. Because I think it's
all the same problems of her.
Yeah, it has all the same problems, but it's like filled with like furries and stuff.
Yeah, it was like a cockroach dealing meth to a bunch of rabbits
Yeah,
or something
pretty
in the back
much.
alley.
But it falls like very similar to like a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxies. So it has a lot of humor in it.
Yeah.
It has a very good camaraderie between all like the characters
Yeah.
because we've learned to like these characters over the years.
Yeah.
And it kind of follows that same type of formula.
Right. It's a lot of humor and a lot of heart.
But yeah, at the very end is because it's like this is considered like the last movie for James Gunn, so he put a lot of heart into the end.
Yeah, this is the most emotional Guardians film
Yeah.
for sure. Possibly one of the most emotional superhero films of
Yeah.
all time. It's
Because-
focused on Rocket's backstory, which is like tragic.
Yeah, it's very tragic.
And talking about these characters, Rocket for me is my second favorite Marvel character of all. Thor's my number 1, but Rocket's my number 2. So this movie definitely had an impact on me when I saw it. So, and if you really like animals, this movie will like.
Yeah, that is like I say with animal testing and stuff like that.
Yeah, the main theme of the film is animal testing
Yeah.
and animal cruelty. So if you don't like seeing animals get hurt,
Yeah,
this will
might not be.
Yeah, this will actually hit you pretty hard in the feels.
Yeah, yeah, and especially at the end, like especially if you like these characters and this team, they
Yeah.
basically go separate ways at the very end.
Right.
So like Rocket become the new leaders of the Guardians.
Yeah, which
I think-
whether or not this actually amounts to anything, who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, because like Peter Quill, he goes back to his house,
Yeah.
and I think I guess Gamora, she becomes a pirate because like at the end of the third one, or was it the third movie, or I guess it would be
This is the third
Endgame.
movie, so yeah, Endgame.
Yeah, where she becomes like almost like a different person because it technically is a different.
Well, yeah, it's the Gamora like before she met Quill.
yeah,
So it's the same Gamora up to the first film,
yeah,
but then those 10 years they had together or whatever didn't happen.
yeah. It didn't happen because if you remembered in the Infinity War, she dies.
Yeah, she's
So-
like all the Guardian. Well, no, she died because
Yeah, 'cause they had
she,
to.
she was the Soul Stone sacrifice.
So it definitely has a lot of heart because it has that too, where it's like almost saying goodbye type of thing.
Yeah. Although it is set up in a way that's open ended.
Yeah, it's open ending.
But it's whether or not people want to tackle this without James Gunn.
Yeah, that's the only problem because James Gunn had a very specific vision.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anyone could actually replicate that, like, vision and also, like, humor, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is, like, his child from Marvel, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, so
That was-
highly recommend.
yeah, that's a pretty good movie, especially if you like the Guardians of the Galaxy. And also Marvel, because this definitely was the best Marvel movie of the year.
Oh, for
or
sure.
at least comic book movie in general too.
Yeah, definitely.
Is by far the best.
It's one of my favorite comic book movies, period.
Yeah.
So the fact that it came out in this year, the year of Shazam and Aquaman and the Marvels and Ant-Man, and a bunch of garbage, basically.
Yeah, garbage, and then you had The Shining Beacon.
Yeah.
Was Guardians of the Galaxy
The best
3.
superhero film in years.
Yeah.
Since Endgame, easily.
Yes.
Or, I mean, maybe Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man, I guess.
But, like, other than that, this is by far the best superhero movie in a long time.
Yeah.
All right, so that was our number 3.
Yes.
So what do you had for 2?
Or my number 2 was D&D, Honor Among Thieves.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
Which,
you did like that one a lot.
I like this one just because I kind of have a soft spot for fantasies, like high fantasy, I guess you can say.
Yeah, there's not a lot of it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of it, especially recently, because I don't think a lot of people do that. Ever since, like, Lord of the Rings. Now, no one... I guess some people tried to do it, but it still doesn't work
The
too
Rings
well.
of Power!
Yeah, Rings of Power. Which I guess there's another movie coming out next year called The Lord of the Rings, like The War of...
Rohirrim
or something,
whatever. It's an animated film, I think.
Yeah, which I don't know if that could even follow what they're doing at Amazon, so...
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing over there.
But, again, this is like a pretty standard... I guess this is a pretty standard adventure movie. So you have like a group of thieves, and they're trying to like... what was that? I don't remember really the plot too much.
It was pretty standard.
Yeah, it's very standard in a movie, I guess.
It's one of those plots that just works.
Yeah, it works because of the acting, specifically. And the group, because the group is pretty well, because you have like a wizard that's really not a very good wizard.
He sucks.
Yeah, he sucks, and it's like horrible. And you have Chris Pine as like the main character.
It's almost like a con man.
Yeah, he's like a con man.
Thief or whatever.
And you have like a barbarian character, which is like, she dies
Rodriguez.
in this movie, yeah. Which I don't know, she came back to life at the
I
end.
think she did.
Yeah, because that was one thing that they did. And then you have like a tiefling, I think, or like almost like a shapeshifter.
Oh yeah.
And that rounds out your characters. And you have kind of like a charlatan guy he basically follows with the Red Wizards, I guess you could say. Which are like, I guess in D&D, I don't really know anything about D&D, so I guess the Red Wizards are considered bad in D&D.
Yeah.
Lore. And they're like almost like necromancers or something like that. I guess you have a paladin in there too. He's kind of like straight-laced character, which... And the reason why I kind of like this, because it has like it follows like the D&D model of like the party.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's almost like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's very similar to that type of movie.
Yeah, it has a lot of the like D&D references and tropes and stuff in there. It had all the creatures too that I'm only mildly familiar with D&D, but it had like the displacer beasts, it had the mimic.
Yeah, it has the mimic, it has
owlbears, like the things people think of.
Yeah, or like this gelatinous cube that dissolves people, like the Blob or something.
It's pretty much the Blob.
But like I said, the reason why I kind of like this movie is because it's an adventure movie.
Yeah.
And it does it very well. And like the characters are very likable, which this movie, I guess, the only problem with this movie, I guess it probably won't make a second one because it was a pretty big budget movie, and it didn't do too well in the box office.
Yeah, I have heard some possible movement on a sequel.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's because maybe it sold well on home video or like streaming.
Paramount Plus or whatever this thing came out. But I kind of wish they would make a second one because these type of movies I kind of wish they would make more of. They don't make too many of these as often, I don't think.
Yeah, I think the only problem with this was I think they overestimated the D&D fan base.
Yeah, that's one thing. The D&D fan base is people know about D&D, or I guess maybe Stranger Things is what caused
That's mostly what I was thinking. Like, people know about D&D because of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean that they're D&D players.
Yeah, they're D&D players. They just kind of know about the thing. Like,
yeah.
Like,
they might buy a T-shirt, but that doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they are D&D fans or whatever.
True.
But like I said, that more with the story is pretty standard, but I liked it because of the characters and the acting, and actually the humor is pretty good. They have a scene where the guy's like doing like a decoy in the bard or whatever, and his face is like melting away because it's like he's trying to keep the spell going, but he's not a very good wizard. So
it looks like 500% facial
and his face is just like all the guards are just like, what is going on? But it's pretty it's a pretty fun adventure movie. Like I say, it's very standard. It's a very standard adventure movie, but it's a pretty fun adventure movie, I guess you can say.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. It's not in my top 10, but I liked it.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's good.
This was a hard list to make.
Yeah.
By the way, there actually was a lot of films that were like on the peripheral of this top 10 list.
Yeah.
Because I think I had 65 on here a couple times, and then that got removed.
Yeah, I had 65 on here as well at one point.
I watched The Pope's Exorcist the other night, and that was pretty decent, but it just didn't quite make the cut. But yeah, I mean, that's totally fine.
Yes.
That is a pretty good movie. All right, so our number one, which, if you saw the review for this movie, that's probably no big surprise.
Yes.
But our number one is Godzilla
minus one.
So, yeah, going into this, we had very different backgrounds.
Yeah.
My background is I'm like an enormous Godzilla fan from when I was like 2.
Yeah.
So I ended up like studying the language and moved to Japan for 3 years, and I think it's all because of Godzilla. So that's kind of my starting point for all of it. Cinema, my love of dinosaurs, my love of sci-fi, Japanese culture, all of it comes from Godzilla initially. So this film, whereas you have basically only seen
it's
the American ones.
Yeah, the American ones and like the original from 1950s.
Yeah.
And like the new ones like Shin Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah, we
saw
that.
Which that's much different than this one, but
yeah. It's similar in some ways, but it's different. But yeah, this to me is the best Godzilla movie. One of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's really put together very well. It's a story that has a lot of heart and soul.
Yeah.
And has very good human characters.
Yeah, that's actually the one reason why I like it so much. It's because of the humanistic story with it.
Yeah. Its focus is on a family who became a family because of the war.
Yeah.
The result of the war. But is just kind of trying to survive in the aftermath of World War II.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called -1, because at the end of World War II, Japan was at 0.
Yeah.
And then Godzilla makes it -1.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the reason for it. For some reason, people debate the meaning, but it's literally in the trailer.
Yeah.
They explain it to you in the trailer.
Yes.
But, yeah, so this Godzilla... He's not a very big Godzilla as far as the franchise goes, but he's a mean Godzilla.
Yeah. He like literally like launches like atomic bombs out of his mouth.
Yeah, he's just pissed off at the world.
Yeah.
And he was like that before the bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's one thing I really liked about this movie is we got to see Godzilla. We've seen this once before, where it was like a pre-nuked Godzilla. But this one, he just comes out of the ocean just screaming like an asshole right out of the gate.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just like kills everything. He's not a very nice Godzilla.
No.
But yeah, he's got a mean streak on him. And this had a lot of great action with the Navy. Some cool sequences with experimental planes and tanks from the end of the war.
Yeah, also being being a period piece again. It's kind of like a lot of the Japanese tech, that is. Yeah,
so this one's 1947, so this is actually the earliest any Godzilla film has been for the main narrative. And if you're a fan of like World War II tech and hardware and stuff, especially the Japanese military, and if you play like I don't know, like World of Tanks or like War Thunder or something, you probably would recognize some of the vehicles in there. They have Cheeto tank, which is like I think they built 2 of in reality, but in this movie they have a bunch.
They also have like the was it the Shinden or whatever?
Shinden, is the experimental plane.
The plane looks pretty weird. But...
Yeah, the propeller's like on the back of the plane.
Yeah.
But it was a bunch of experimental weapons from the end of the war. So it's like the idea pretty much is that the Americans have abandoned Japan because they're afraid of triggering the Soviets.
Which that actually did happen.
Right. We went to Korea this year, and we saw the museum there talked about how we didn't supply the South Korean military because we were afraid of triggering the Soviets.
Yeah.
So it's similar to that plot. And then the Japanese government basically turns its back on the people.
Yeah. And there's a lot of commentary about the Japanese government in this.
Right. Which it has that in common with Shin Godzilla.
Yeah.
Shin Godzilla, the entire movie is about the ineffective bureaucracy of the Japanese government.
Yeah.
And this film is about the common people of Japan rising up and taking action.
While the Japanese government just is going so slow. And
Right.
just like,
The government's just sitting on its ass.
or they
and-
say stuff and it's like, nothing's wrong.
Yeah, and that's what Shin
Like,
Godzilla was basically about. And Shin Godzilla is about like the new younger generation rising up in the government and taking reins. Like somebody finally decides to
Do
something.
Do something.
do something. And somebody, a younger guy, he's like 40, but he's
Yeah,
a younger
yeah,
guy.
he's young.
Most people in the Japanese government are like 80 years old.
Yeah.
So this is a younger guy who decides to take action. This film, the government's not really in it at all, and it's like the common people.
Yeah,
These are the
'cause-
old veterans of the war or whatever decide to take action.
Yeah, they finally make a plan to capture Godzilla and do like their plan to basically kill Godzilla.
Yeah. But the main reason why this would be number one for me is this is a really well-made film.
Yeah.
And then it's a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, because you could literally almost take Godzilla out of this,
Yeah, you still would have
and you still have a pretty decent movie.
You have like a graveyard of fireflies or whatever that movie, Grave of
Yeah.
Fireflies or whatever it is. Like that, something like that. If
Yeah.
you took Godzilla out.
And the themes is really good. Like you have a war veteran basically with almost a survivor guilt,
Yes.
and also like, I guess duty is like the sense of duty is just like been shattered because he's a kamikaze pilot. So
Yeah.
and he didn't do what he was supposed to do. So which
And it has a simple moral to the story,
yeah.
but the basically the key takeaway that the director's trying to tell you is just live.
Yeah, just live.
No matter what, you're better alive than dead.
Which is it's a commentary on the Japanese army at the time too.
The army at the time, but
It's like
also
throwing
like
people's lives
Japanese. It's a literal commentary on the Japanese military at the time because they even bring that up.
Yeah.
They talk about they just cheaply throw away life.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of a message to the Japanese people as a whole because this is a country with a very high suicide rate.
Yeah.
So, like, no matter how bad it gets, you're more valuable to yourself and to the people around you alive
Yeah.
than dead.
Then dead.
So it seems like a simple idea, but it works. Like,
Yeah.
it's a good strong message
Yeah.
and a message of hope for that normal everyday people can make a difference.
Yeah.
So I think that,
Yeah.
that's why Godzilla -1 is our number one.
Yeah,
I'm
it's-
a huge Godzilla fan, so I like Big Monster, but it's more than just Big Monster.
Yeah, this has a pretty decent message to it.
Yeah.
And it's doing pretty well in the box office, so
Very well. It's a cheaply made film,
which
too.
I know for a fact 'cause I've talked to some people that are also like they like movies and they said this is one of their top favorite movies of the year too. So
I mean, I think a lot of people put it
So-
on their list.
a lot of people have seen it, not necessarily like that don't really care about Japanese culture and stuff.
Yeah.
have liked it. So
Right. I think it transcends. It has a 98% on Rotten Tomato audience and critic score.
Yeah.
Still. So it's like permanently at 98%, I think, at this point.
yeah, the one guy.
I think everybody
hated it.
who's seen it is going to.
Yeah, the one guy that hated it.
Yeah, there was like two guys that hated it. So, yeah. So anyway, that's going to be our 2023 in review. So if you like this video, consider giving us a thumbs up, subscribing for more content like this in the future. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff in 2024. I made a whole new logo, which you can see above me.
Yes.
So look forward to seeing that instead of the Halloween 3 pumpkin that we just shamelessly
Yeah,
stole
we just famously stole from
for
John.
3 years.
Yeah.
So we got a new logo for this new year, and so we're hoping to do a lot of great stuff.
Probably do some more Twitch and
Oh,
everything
yeah.
else. So
Yeah, I'm working on getting Twitch set up. We'll probably be doing that more often. Hopefully, once I get everything going, we'll be doing it a few times a week.
Yeah.
Once with us, and
Yeah.
then maybe me doing it solo for a bit during the week. And I'm going to do a collaboration with my one friend Brian in Japan, who we did Doki Doki Daikaiju podcast, which is the podcast that I had with him over there. We're going to do another one of those soon. So it's been a while since we did that. And then maybe someday we'll do the three of us.
yeah, we
together.
could probably do a 3 of us or something.
Yeah, that would work too. So look forward to all of that, and remember that you too could feel the strength welling within.
Yes.
We'll see you.
See ya.